Hello everyone. Just wanted to talk for a little bit about some things that have been going on in the news. Um, just to forewarn you, there may be some strong language in this video, although I'm going to be doing my best to avoid that, but just in case, I thought I'd forewarn you. Anyways, the other day, when I was logging into work, I heard about protests going on in downtown Columbus. Wasn't sure what was going on, so I looked up on the news. Ever since the whole coronavirus thing has started, I haven't really been paying too much attention to the news anymore, just because it always seems to be the same thing every day. And haven't watched it on TV. And when I read it online, it's basically I'm just looking at the local headlines. That's about it. Anyways, looked up what was going on at the protests and heard about the death of Mr. George Floyd out in Minneapolis, who apparently was arrested by the Minneapolis Police Department while in custody. He was pulled out of a squad car. He was already handcuffed, and he was held face down on the pavement by an officer who basically kept his knee on his neck to hold him down, and kept the knee on his neck for about 8 or 9 minutes, during which time he was telling the officers that he couldn't breathe. The officers apparently ignored him, and as a result, he passed away. And one of the contributing factors had been that how they had restrained him and held him down with the knee on the neck like that. The officer who had his knee on the gentleman's neck, he's been arrested and charged with murder. The other 3 officers have also, and he was also fired, of course, before that, but the other 3 officers involved, they were fired, and probably should be, I believe they should be getting charges pressed against them as well. I don't know the exact circumstances for why this man had been arrested, but holding someone down by the neck like that for 9 minutes is, in my opinion, excessive. You already have him restrained. He's saying he can't breathe, and you continue to hold him down. And it's one thing to use force to restrain a prisoner and get someone under control like that, but when you've already got them restrained and you're just holding them down like that, that's crossing the line into excessive force, in my opinion. The other officers, in my opinion, they had responsibility too to be looking out for this guy, because they had him restrained and everything, and at that point, his well-being is the responsibility of those officers. The fact that he's saying that he couldn't breathe and they did nothing other than hold him down by the neck like that, it's negligence on all parts of the officers involved in that whole thing. I do hope the fullest extent of the law gets pushed out against not just the officer that's been charged with the man's murder, but all the other officers that are involved. I hope it comes down hard on them as well, because they had a responsibility to say, hey, this isn't right, that they should have stepped in and done something. Sadly, past few years, there's been a lot of video in stories in the news of law enforcement overstepping their bounds, and abusing citizens that are being placed under arrest or being checked out by the police, that kind of thing. In my opinion, most men and women in law enforcement are professionals at their job. They do their job well. They they are looking out there for the best for everybody. Sad thing is, there are some men and women out in the law enforcement who abuse their power, and they shouldn't be allowed to have a badge and carry a gun. I mean, that's just, it's just, they're in it they're basically, they bully people and abuse their power and hide behind the badge and claim it's, just doing their job, when it's like, no, there's some cases where, no, you're overstepping your bounds. There's one case where I saw where a cop was doing a traffic stop on some kid, and asked the kid for his driver's license. The kid was standing outside the car, open door. On the dash cam, you could see, and the cop asked the kid for his driver's license. The kid reaches into the sun visor to get his driver's license, and the kid was on the cop was off to the side more than the dash cam was. But from the dash cam point of view, the kid wasn't even turned towards, was only partly turned towards the cop when the cop fired the first shot. Kid turns towards the cop. Both hands are in view of the dash cam, so they were definitely in view of the cop. And the only thing the kid had in his hand was his driver's license. That's when the second shot went off. The kid drops his driver's license, puts his hands in the air, and that's when the third and fourth shot goes off. Now, I'm sorry, but, it's one thing for one shot to go off when you think someone's reaching for a weapon, but when someone's turned towards the cop, only has a driver's license in their hand, or has their hands in the air with nothing in their hands, why are you still shooting? There's something wrong with that. Now, granted, there are cases where, some of our law-abiding citizens push the whole police brutality thing and try to make something out of it that isn't. One case that happened was actually in Columbus here a few years ago, where there was an older woman. The family had left her in the car alone while they went into the store. While they were in the store, the woman had some mental issues. Pulled out a steak knife. How she got a steak knife, I'm not sure. And started wandering around the parking lot wielding the steak knife. Police were called in, repeatedly telling this woman to, put down the knife, drop everything that she had in her hands. She wasn't doing it. The person videotaping this on his cell phone or video camera, I'm not sure what he was using, but you hear him going, "Oh, watch this is going to be police brutality." And it's like, okay, the police are responding to someone with a weapon. They don't know what's going on, and you're already claiming police brutality and nothing's happened. That's someone that's, trying to stir up the trouble that doesn't even exist. So, there's the two sides where, you got, on one hand, you got some police that are using power and making it bad for everyone that's legitimately doing their job. And you got others who are basically out there looking for trouble to start up. Now, before anyone says anything about my views on police, saying that, that I'm biased or something like that, one way or the other, my brother is a sheriff deputy back home in the town we grew up in. It's coming up on 20 years now, I think, if I remember right, and that he's been a sheriff deputy. He's also a volunteer fireman, has been for even longer than that. even longer than he was a sheriff deputy, and he does his job professionally. I've actually seen him one time. There was a three-car accident out in front of our neighbor's house on the icy road one winter, and I saw him out there, helping people out of their wrecked cars and into the ambulance and everything. And I remember thinking, this is the same kid that can't even make his bed, yet he's out there, doing the best that you want from anybody to help out in a situation like that. And unfortunately, he has, a few years ago, he did experience, one of the situations where he's dealing with someone that's been arrested, and the situation turned very ugly very fast. He was taking a prisoner in through that had been arrested on misdemeanor, I think it was drug possession charges or something, I'm not sure which. Anyways, he was taking the guy through processing at the jail, and my brother, of course, being in the jail, they didn't have their sidearm on or anything, so he's basically unarmed, taking the guy through processing. My brother said normally when the other deputies take prisoners through for processing, they don't really talk to the prisoners or anything like that. But the guy was asking about his charges and how it would be affected by other charges that he had before. And my brother's being civil to him, politely answering his questions and everything. And out of the blue, this guy goes from being calm and relaxed to going batshit crazy. And he jumped my brother. Basically, is a full-on wrestling match that went on. My brother got a concussion, busted glasses, busted lip, neck, back, shoulder injuries. He actually had to have surgery on his one shoulder, I think it was his right shoulder, because after the whole incident happened, he could only raise his arm up to shoulder level. He couldn't raise his arm above his shoulder. He had to have surgery on his shoulder. Again, he had back injuries, cuts and bruises all over him. And the guy also bit my brother on the arm. Another deputy went running in to assist with restraining the guy. That deputy got bit on the arm as well. And they got him restrained and everything. So the guy basically had been calm and looking at misdemeanor charges. He's in the jail. What he's thinking, I have no idea, but he flipped out and ended up with 2 felony counts of assaulting a police officer. So I know how easily situations can get escalated out of hand for police officers. Thankfully, my brother's made a full recovery from his injuries, so the whole thing, he's still a sheriff deputy. He loves it. He's very professional at what he does. And, thankfully there are men and women out there like him who love their job. They are out there looking out for the best for us. But, there's cases, unfortunately, where, especially, and it seems like it's happening more recently, I don't know if it's because of social media or what, where, law enforcement, there are some members of law enforcement, not everyone, but there's a few that are basically making a bad name for law enforcement. And, unfortunately it's making a bad image of law enforcement for everyone. Because, it's not just, even though it's, certain individuals that are, in the case of like Minneapolis, it's the whole department, it's making a bad image for law enforcement everywhere. And, case of point of how things are getting out of hand now, you not only had the incident with George Floyd, dying in police custody. Uh, I guess back in March, and I remember seeing this briefly. I think it was didn't really read much of it because it was back around the time this whole coronavirus thing started. But there was a woman down in I think it was Louisville, or not Louisville, or it might have been Louisville. I'm not sure, but anyways, the police went on a raid or something into an apartment. Didn't announce themselves as police, didn't knock or anything. They just busted in the door and went in. The guy that was in the apartment with his girlfriend, I mean, obviously, someone breaks into your apartment, you're going to open fire. So he opens fire on the police, not knowing that it's police because they didn't say they were police. The police returned fire and ended up shooting his girlfriend 8 times, apparently. According to the news story I heard this morning. And it's like, okay, right now that whole thing is under federal investigation, from what I understand. But that's the whole abuse of power, because when you go in unannounced like that, and then you wonder why people are firing. I mean, the guy's defending his house or his home. It's like, why are you going in like that unannounced and everything? And then there's the videos I've seen over the last 3 days of what's been going on with the police, not only in Minneapolis, but even down in Louisville, that have been really disturbing. Friday I saw this video from CNN where there was a 4-man news crew at this one intersection in Minneapolis. They were covering the police moving in and clearing out the protesters and everything. Police and a bunch of these state troopers in riot gear, they come up, surround the news crew, and arrest them on live TV. And they don't tell, the thing on the camera is, they didn't tell these reporters, or the reporter and the news crew, why they were being arrested. They did not read them their Miranda rights on camera. If they're being arrested, you're supposed to read them their Miranda rights. Because, after that, anything that they say, they can't use in court. Or anything. So, and, they walk the news crew off. The camera is still rolling. The police were carrying the camera, and the cameras are still rolling live. Apparently the CNN president, he got on the phone with the governor of Minnesota, and who apparently looked into the whole thing. After a couple hours, the news crew was released. They were still not given an explanation as to why they were arrested. They were not given an apology by anyone in the police department. The governor did go on to do a press conference. He did make a quote-unquote apology on camera, saying that the whole thing should never have happened. Thing I can't help but wonder on the whole thing, though, is if that hadn't happened on live TV, if it would have been recorded and not, being broadcast at the time, would the police have, just destroyed the video or wiped the video and then claimed no wrongdoing? In other words, are the only reason the governor even apologized, is it because they got caught on live TV doing this? And it's not only that, but it's like, when you're arresting the media, there's a thing in this country called freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Those 2 rights, civil rights, that we are guaranteed in our Constitution and Bill of Rights. The fact that, you're taking away rights in the name of safety. Remember, George Carlin once said, the government can take away our rights in the name of safety to make us feel better. And we're seeing that now. Other cases that happened, there was a video I saw of, there was a CBS News crew that was covering the situation in Minneapolis. Police just started firing rubber bullets at them. It's like, okay, you got a news crew nowhere near the protesting. Police just turn and start firing on the news crew. There's another photographer, or a news photographer, who was videotaping the situation. They started firing rubber bullets at him and then arrested him. And the one that's really, and then actually down in Louisville, the same thing happened. Someone was covering the protests down in Louisville. It was a reporter, and she and her cameraman came under fire by this one SWAT officer, or whoever it was, basically, literally right on camera, live TV. Again, this is live TV. Starts firing rubber bullets at them. The one that really got me, though, that I saw last night, and I saw it again this morning, was there were several people on camera on this. This woman apparently was recording on her cell phone. They were on their front porch, and this is a residential street, well away from the downtown area where the protests and everything are happening. They're on a residential street. They're on their front porch. Everyone in the video is on their front porch, not out in the yard, not out in the street. Police, they had an armored vehicle that went past, and then you had a line of police or state troopers or whoever it was in riot gear coming down the street, and no explanation why. They just start telling people, go inside, go inside, you can't be outside. They're on their front porch. They're on their own private property. Keep in mind, they own this property. They're on their property that they own. Police start yelling at them to go inside. You're already on your porch. You're on your house. And then the police, one of the officers yells, light them up. And they start firing paint canisters at people on their own private front porch. And it's like, when you're on your own home, you're not even, this is on your own home. It's like, seriously, what the fuck? You're in your own home, and the police are firing at you. There's no sense in that. All this is, I can understand tensions are high and everything, but when you have, police arresting the media, firing at the media, firing at private citizens on their home, there's a problem. There's a damn problem with that. I'm sorry, but that is abuse of power. You're not at this point, the people in the SWAT outfits and everything, those aren't cops. Those are bullies with guns and badges. That's all it is. That's all they're doing, is bullying good citizens on their own property, minding their own business, law-abiding citizens, not doing anything. There's a problem with it. I have a serious problem with that. I really hope things straighten out from it, but because right now, a lot of our freedoms and liberties are being taken away from us. Granted, a lot of it has to do with, tensions being high with all the protesting and everything. And it's, and that's what other thing that I want to talk about too is, all these protests that are going on. It's one thing to be peacefully protesting something and standing up for our rights and everything, but there's a lot of destruction that's been happening lately with all of this protesting. Buildings being burned down or damaged. The only one that I can really justifiably see, even though two wrongs don't make a right. And that's, you know, the police station where these officers involved in George Floyd's death were based out of. You know, that police station, it's probably destroyed. Last I saw of it, it was on fire, which I can kind of see that, even though, like I said, it's not, doesn't make it right. But, you know, when you're going around, you know, and rather than just protesting, you know, you're going around damaging or destroying, you know, businesses and churches and other stuff that has nothing to do with what you're protesting, you know, there's a problem. There's a problem with that. And, you know, actor John Schneider on his YouTube channel, he's talking about how down in Nashville, apparently someone was actually busing in people from other cities to protest at Nashville or something and cause problems. And it's like, you know, it's one thing to protest, but it's, you know, when you start crossing the line into destruction of private property, looting and stealing, that kind of thing, that's vandalism. That's the crime. And it's like, you know, that's not helping matters whatsoever. And I think what it is with everything that's going on, I mean, like I said, this is the whole police brutality thing. You know, it's been flaring up from time to time over the past several years. And yes, there is some truth to it. Some of it, you know, some of it are these officers who, you know, abuse their power and everything, and some of it is, you know, people overreacting to what they see, not understanding what they see. So, you know, it kind of goes both ways, and I think what it is, you know, this whole thing has been building up, and especially for the issues where people have been legitimately abused by the police, and, you know, I think it's, you know, it's like a friend of mine said years ago, you know, when it comes to, when, you know, you can poke a sleeping lion with a stick so many times before it's going to wake up and turn around and bite you. And I think that's what's starting to happen right now. And, you know, everyone's just getting fed up and saying enough is enough. And, you know, I'm so sorry that, you know, Mr. Floyd's passed away. You know, it's something like that should never have happened. Like I said, I don't know the full story of why he was arrested or anything, but at the same time, you know, the fact that, you know, the police ignored him saying that he was, that, you know, that he couldn't breathe and stuff. You know, the police have a responsibility for the well-being of the person in their custody, whether they have done anything wrong or not. You know, if they put you in their custody, they have a responsibility to take care of you and make sure nothing happens to you. But, you know, the whole thing, everything has just gone spiraling out of control. And, you know, like last night, I went to sit down for dinner, turned on the TV, and, you know, everything was just, you know, first thing that came up was the emergency broadcast banner across the bottom of or across the top of the screen about Columbus being under curfew. And it's like so sad that, you know, we're having to see everything come to this. But, you know, if you're in law enforcement and you're doing your job professionally, God bless you. Stay safe. Thank you for the work you do. For the ones who are out there abusing their power, ask yourself, why do you have the badge? Why are you doing the job if you're going to be abusing your power like that? You shouldn't be in law enforcement. For the people who are going out protesting, please do it peacefully. Stop with the whole violence and destruction and everything. That's getting ridiculous. And there's no point in it. All you're doing is making things worse by doing that. And if you're a law-abiding citizen, you're not taking part in the protests. Best thing I can suggest is stay home. Even though you have every right to be out on your front porch and everything, but the way tensions are going on right now, play it safe. Be inside, and stay inside where it's safe and everything, and hopefully this is all going to get straightened out. So anyways, my camera is about to run out of battery. So anyways, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this whole thing. I'll try to answer any questions as you post them. So stay safe, stay well, take care, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.